Hey, lovelies. Welcome back to JayeRated. Now, I know I'm a little tardy, okay? But your girl is busy, okay? Just like you guys, I'm a human being. I have a job. I have kids, or some of you may not have kids, but I do, and a husband. So your girl is busy, okay? And episodes come out just about every damn day, okay? So trying to watch it and review it sometimes is like eating soup with a fucking fork. Okay, damn near impossible. But let's get into it. Okay, so I'm gonna start with episode 7 because that's what I left off on. We had Mert and Solin leave us. They were dumped, which left Lucinda a little upset. And Nicola feeling grateful because she thought she may be going home. Nicola's growing on me as well as some of the other Islanders that I wasn't too familiar with, like Isiah. I think he's kind of funny. In this episode, we got to see some conversations between some of the Islanders. Um, Nothing too crazy, but a couple shocks. Justine and Josh kissed, which I was not expecting at all. Um, Ty making Justine breakfast. Another shock. Okay, my boy is clearly feeling her. Let's see if it's going to be reciprocated. We saw another cute moment between Kendall and Garby. Seems like they're truly getting to know each other. They're actually starting to get a little um, loved off, I would say. I wouldn't say their mind is focused on the competition, though, which could come back to bite them in the butt. We also saw Nicola trying to shoot her shot at Chris. Honestly, it seemed like Chris was just like carrying on the conversation to be nice and like be friendly. But yeah, Nicola, she was making it clear that she was interested. But the most interesting part about this episode was the heart rate challenge, of course. So I will say I liked when they did it individually. Like they would let the girls come out, and then each of them would go, and then the boys come out, and then each of them would go. But I can imagine that does take a while. Also, I'm sure the Islanders feel a little more comfortable when they have somebody going out with them. So they had 1 minute 45 seconds to get the Islanders' heart rates up, and whoever performed the best or got like the most heart rates up, I guess, raised the hearts the most, would be crowned power couple. And so, my initial thoughts, I thought that Johnny and Andreina would perform the best, honestly, because I feel like they have the most sex appeal. Um, but I wasn't too like, like blown away with their performance. Like Johnny picked Andrea up and basically like put her cooch like in his face. I was a little shocked by that, but it was, like there was more to be desired. Andreina, she just kind of mostly just twerked in Ty's face. When I say Ty, I mean Tyreek. Um, and that was it. Nothing really stood out for them. I felt like Kendall and Garby. I just thought theirs was funny. Kendall had like a bunch of like funny like one-liners as it related to like their costume. So like they were funny, but I wouldn't say they were very sexy. And then Justine and Josh, she was the sexiest out of the two. She's just fit, isn't she? Like her body is banging. Face card will not decline. Okay. Um, you know, and so she took her time on Tyreek. Actually, gave him a little attention. And when it was his turn, he returned the favor. Okay, to her, he and Lucinda came out, and they basically just kissed everybody. And Tyreek, he is just greedy. He took Justine and KayKay to the bed to give them a little extra attention. Um, and then Nicola and Isiah. Honestly, I felt like they were kind of just like more cringe than anything. It was funny. Like when they came in, she like got on the bed and was like doing like a little sexy prowl, like a little cat. And he like smacked her on the butt, and I feel like that's what got all the Islanders' heart rates up because they ended up winning. And I was like, how? Honestly, I felt like KayKay did the most when she got on that pole, baby, and she spun it around and dropped it down. I was like, damn. If I had some ones, I was throwing them at the TV. Okay. So I was rooting for them, KayKay and Chris, but they I guess it wasn't enough, honestly, because they were power couple in the last episode. I felt like the Islanders were like stone faced and like focused on not letting them get the win. So Nicola and Isiah ended up winning, but they couldn't end the episode there. Okay, we had two bombshells come in, Marvin and Isiah's ex, Lindsay. Sydney's her name. Um, and honestly, Isiah looked like he was shook. He honestly kind of looked like he was in a little bit of a trance as well. Like maybe he was happy to see her, but shocked. He was gobsmacked, honestly. And that's kind of where we ended it off. That kind of takes us into the next episode, where the power couple gets a night in the hideaway. And of course, we're thinking, why? Like, they're a friendship couple. Why are they going to the hideaway? But of course, this is Love Island Games, so it's not going to be as simple as that. They get invited to the hideaway, but they have to choose between the vulnerable couples from the Heart Rate Challenge, who would be going in to duel each other the next day. So the couples that raised the heart rates the least were Andrea and Toby, Chris and KayKay, and Johnny and Andreina. And so they had to choose between the six of them, two girls, two guys, to duel each other the next day. And it was a lot of back and forth between the two of them. It did not seem like it was an easy decision for either of them to make. But it is a game at the end of the day. So if I put myself in their position, I would be looking out for myself. Like KayKay said, I would want the 250,000. Wow, okay? So I would be doing whatever is necessary to put myself in that position. And so they ended up choosing Chris and Johnny to battle each other, and KayKay and Andrea. KayKay and Andrea were supposedly best friends in the villa. I guess they just connected the most while they were there, and so they didn't want to battle each other. They were actually shedding a couple of tears, but then was like, "Fuck it, we got to get into game mode." And Chris was just pissed. Johnny was just like, "I respect it because he's been in the game before, so he's gonna do whatever it takes to win." Um, if I'm honest, I was rooting for Chris. Okay. I know I said I was rooting for Johnny a little bit, but I changed my fucking mind. Okay. He's kind of pissed me off a little bit. I did not expect the duels to go the way they did. So let me just say, um, the Islanders go to bed and then wake up to the rink outside. Like, talk about getting in their heads. This is where you see it shift completely their mindsets and go straight to the games. It's no longer about love and friendship, rainbows and sunshine. It's about give me the guap, I'm gonna stab you in the back to get it. And so, you know, Nicola and Isiah came out and basically wanted to state their piece as to why they chose who they did. And some of the Islanders were not hearing it, more specifically, KayKay and Chris. Okay, I think the other Islanders were trying to see like why they made their decision, but at the end of the day, they were okay with it because they weren't the ones in the duel. But Nicola tried to approach KayKay about it, and KayKay was just like, respectfully, no, I don't want to hear what you have to say because I'm trying to get into the game so that I win. And Chris didn't want to hear anything Isiah, or Zay, as they're calling him, had to say. He shut him down completely, stone faced. Um, so you got to see their mindset going into the duel. I was rooting for KayKay, my Libra sister. Another black queen. Sorry, Andrea. No shade to you, but I wanted KK to win. And honestly, so it was best out of three. There were 3 rounds, but they only got through 2. KK was whooping ass in the beginning. Honestly, I thought she was going to take it. Andrea won it at the very last moment, and I feel like it's just because KK got tired. I was rooting for my girl to win. I was, and so we go into round 2, and Andrea basically dominates because she has more stamina. Because she didn't really have to exert herself truly in the first round, and basically gets stuck into her corner with the bag. Sorry, I didn't actually explain the challenge, did I? So in this duel, it relied on their strength and stamina. They had to basically pull this like weighted bag into their corner. Whomever had most of the bag in their corner at the end of the round won. So the round was 45 seconds long. And as I said, I felt like KK was truly dominating. She had pretty good strategy as well, like throwing her weight around and moving around in the ring to try to get in her corner. But once she lost that first round, I think she was just out of gas. And so going into the second round, she did give it all she got. Girl even came up out of her fucking shoes to try to pull out the win. But sadly, she didn't do it. Which Andrea, that gave her the win and you know, left KK dumped. And so then we had Chris and Johnny, which in my mind, I'm thinking Chris should have this just based off of his size alone. Like Johnny is strong, and I'm not like trying to like discredit him in any way. But as like tall and big as like just Chris's stature, he was bigger than the damn bag. Like he could have just taken the bag, bear hugged it, and like sat on fucking top of it, on top of the bag and Johnny, and won both rounds. But that was not the case. I don't think he went in with any strategy. It was just more like brute strength and force. And so, he did carry himself throughout most of the first round, but because he didn't go in with any strategy, he ended up hurting himself. He broke his finger, or he believed to broke his finger, and basically had to forfeit the rest of the match. So that left Johnny to win by default, which I felt was not earned. And of course, Johnny's wearing a huge smug smile on his face, like, oh, I'm the man. When really, Johnny, what did you show us? Okay. I feel like you didn't truly prove to us that you could win. But you got the win nonetheless. And oh my gosh, guys, I will say their battle was intense. It was a lot of back and forth, but I do think that Chris was still overpowering him for the most part. But most of the audience was cheering for Johnny to win because they knew they couldn't take out Chris themselves. So, oh my gosh, Andrea, why was she on the floor? Why was she on the damn floor? Like she was about to fucking have a heart attack if Johnny lost because she knew that she could not win the game without him. Okay? So it was just a lot. It was a lot. It was a what the hell. Honestly, I had a lot of moments of what the hell, what the hell on? What the hell on? I was pissed, okay, that Chris and KK departed the villa. Because I was also cheering for them to at least be in the finale and potentially win the 250,000. Wow. And so that's how episode 8 ended, you know. Um, and that kind of brought us into episode 9, where we got to see a huge shift in the villa, I think. Chris and KK being eliminated kind of put everybody just into games, strategy. What do I need to do to win this? Isiah made a funny comment that it's going to go from Friend Island or Love Island to Snake Island. in 2 seconds, and I agree. You saw several conversations throughout the villa between Tyreek and Johnny, or Toby and Isiah, or Kendall and Josh, even talking about strategy, trying to form alliances with each other. And some of the girls were kind of, you know, maybe shocked by how some of them are moving in the villa. Justine told Lucinda straight up, like, you cannot underestimate anyone in here. Because it is about the game at the end of the day. It is Love Island games. We are hoping to see some connections form, but the most entertaining is the games and them competing for the money. Um, so in this episode, we had one of the most disgusting challenges. Like, why do they do this? Why do they put the Islanders through it and us through it? Because we have to watch it somewhat. I mean, it was a couples challenge where, what did they call it? Bird burping or something? I don't know what the fuck it was called, but literally they were taking a disgusting liquid from a container, basically vomiting it into the other Islanders' mouth, their couple, and then they had to then regurgitate that into one of the Islanders' bowls that they wanted to be vulnerable and potentially eliminated. And so it's a hard watch. They add these little sound effects and songs, and they try to cut out as much as they can, but it's disgusting. Like, I gagged a couple of times just watching the very beginning of it, and then trying to, like, watch as much as I could to get some good, like, content, honestly. And then see, like, what the result would be. Before the challenge, the Islanders had to couple up with each other. It's the first recoupling of the season. And so what they did was they gathered all around in a circle, and they had this little board where they wrote who they wanted to couple up with. If it was a match, they coupled up with each other. If not, they had to go to the single Islanders bench. And so Kendall and Garby chose each other, of course. Johnny and Andreina chose each other. Um, who else? Tyreek chose Justine, but Justine chose Josh, which left Ty butthurt and childish. He basically started to regress back into his immaturity, into his fucking childhood. And so Josh chose Andrea. They coupled up. Marvin chose Nicola, and that was a cute little moment. And Lucinda chose Isiah. And so that left Justine and Tyreek coupled up by default, which no man wants. So he was a little butthurt by it. But despite that, they did perform really well in the challenge together. Um, During the challenge, it seemed like most of the targets were Kendall and Garby, Isiah and Lucinda, because they were just easy picks. And I think maybe even Nicola and Marvin. Now, when the girls were going, it didn't seem like most of them had a huge strategy. Although Garby did spit a lot into Lucinda and Isiah's, like, bowl. I don't think she even had a clear strategy. She was just going for it, but going for the same person. um, but when it came to the guys, they were a lot more heated, as we expect them to be. I mean, they were calling each other out in the midst of spitting in each other's bowls, which was fucking gross. Some of the girls were having to, like, hold it in their mouth while they were trying to strategically spit or choose who they were going to spit into, which was also hard to see because you could see them kind of retching a little bit. It was just a disgusting challenge. Honestly, it was gross. And so after the challenge, that left a pretty big divide, I feel like. A chasm, as some would say, in the villa. toward the end, we got to see, it's nighttime now, so the Islanders are just kind of having conversations with each other. We saw a conversation between Justine and Josh where she was saying, "Hey, like you could have given me a little more of a heads up to let me know you were going to be picking Andrea because the last conversation we had, we were saying we're happy where we're at, aka happy together." And he basically kind of gaslit her a little bit, saying like, "No, I never explicitly said I was going to be with you. Like you're both great girls, blah blah blah. Like, come on." But I think she may have peeped that a little bit, and then we saw, my gosh, Tyreek and Toby having a chat where basically, um, Ty is saying he wants to play Justine now because he's been putting himself out there, making her breakfast, letting her know that he's interested. And since she embarrassed him in front of everyone at the recoupling, he's going to now embarrass her when someone new comes in. And he's basically saying, should I take the high road, be mature, or get back on my fuckboy shit, which is at his core. And that's kind of where it ended, which left a little bit of a bad taste in my mouth. I hate that, you know, Tyreek feels like he, needs to embarrass Justine now because he embarrassed her when at the end of the day, they all are there for the games for the money. Like she tried to have a conversation with him and say, like, hey, like this is kind of where my head was at and this is why I made the decision. Try not to take it, too hard. She's like, yeah, you're playing your game, but I'm also playing mine. And he didn't take that too lightly, or he didn't take it too well, I should say. And so now it seems like he's kind of plotting in his head for her demise. And then, we have two more Islanders coming in the next episode. So, as you all can see, the last three episodes have been a little crazy. All right. I cannot J rate them all individually. I'm gonna have to do it together. Because I feel like there were standout moments from each episode that made them all really good. I don't think each episode on their own was that great. I take that back. Episode 7 and episode 9 were just okay. There were some entertaining moments, but I would J rate it like a 7 out of 10. I was able to watch episode 7 all the way through, and there were some entertaining bits. But episode 9, it was hard to watch because of the challenge itself. It was just gross. But hearing the Islanders kind of go back and forth and bicker with each other a little bit was entertaining. But episode 8, the challenge, basically that was all day long. I have to J rated a 9. It was entertaining for sure. I was on the edge of my seat a little bit. And although my, favorite couple at the moment went home, I still thought it was quite entertaining. And honestly, I felt like I needed a libation for it. Okay. So until next time, my babes, I hope you keep your snacks ready and your cups full. Cheers.